In the quiet heart of southern Norway, where the winds whisper across golden fields, there lies a mound. To the casual eye, it's just a hill, an ancient swelling of earth and grass. But for over 1,000 years, that hill kept a secret. Beneath it, sealed in clay and shadow, lay a ship. Not a shattered wreck or a buried hull, a masterpiece, crafted in oak, adorned with spirals, guarded by soil and silence. And within its ribbed hull, 2 women, 2 souls, sent into eternity with riches and reverence, their story buried deeper than the ship itself. This was the Oseberg burial, and its discovery would upend everything we thought we knew about Viking society. It was 1903. A farmer ploughing near the village of Oseberg struck something strange. Beneath the soil, wood. Not a root or fallen tree, but something carved. He notified the University of Oslo. Archaeologist Gabriel Gustafsson arrived with brushes, chisels, and anticipation. What they found stunned the world. A Viking ship, almost fully intact. 21 meters long, 5 meters wide, with a prow that curled like a serpent's tongue, and hull carvings dancing with Norse artistry. It was more than a ship. It was a sarcophagus, a tomb of unimaginable wealth. And it was only the beginning. The ship was no mere showpiece. It had once sailed the waves. Built around 820 AD, dendrochronology confirmed it had been used for roughly 14 years before its burial in 834. It bore the scars of sea travel, but also oddities. Some oars had never been used, carved purely for the grave. The ship was built to carry warriors, but now it carried the dead. Positioned to face north, its oars placed as if ready to row, it was prepared not for another raid, but for the final voyage. A journey into the mythic realms of death. Inside the burial chamber lay 2 skeletons. One woman was in her 50s or 60s. The other, well into her 80s. A remarkable age in an era where most didn't survive to 40. Her bones bore the signs of arthritis, and her shoes had been custom-made to accommodate her pain. But who were they? No runes, no inscriptions, no golden plaques to name them. And yet, everything spoke of status. They were buried with silk, sleighs, combs, chests, horses, and even cannabis seeds. Not warriors, but rulers. Revered not for conquest, but for command. Perhaps a queen and her priestess. Perhaps a vulva, a seeress, and her apprentice. Or perhaps something else. The grave was overflowing. 15 horses, 4 dogs, 2 oxen, 3 ornate sleds, 1 richly carved wagon, adorned with cats, sacred to Freya, goddess of love and death. There were barrels of apples, chests of woven wool, iron cauldrons, imported silks, likely from the east. Seeds of cannabis, possibly for ritual, a loom, carved bedposts, bronze buckles, bows, and buckets. This was not just wealth, this was conspicuous consumption, a display to gods and mortals alike that these women were powerful. In Viking society, status wasn't hidden, it was proclaimed, and this ship was a proclamation, carved in oak and sealed in clay. Among the most compelling finds were the tapestries. Delicate, detailed, and strange. These textiles featured images of robed figures, animals, and what may have been ceremonial processions. Were these scenes from Norse mythology, or something else entirely? No one knows. There were also textile tools, spindle whorls, loom weights, and dyed yarn. In Norse cosmology, the Norns spun fate itself. Was the act of weaving symbolic? Were these women connected to the mythic weavers of destiny? Every thread told a story. Every carving a ritual. Every object a glimpse into a belief system where death was not the end, but a new journey. The burial itself was no quiet interment. It was a ceremony, public, political, performative. The ship had to be hauled from the fjord, up the slope, and into the mound. Dozens, perhaps hundreds, were present. Chants, offerings, Rituals, music, grief. The ship was packed, sealed, and covered in layer upon layer of clay and turf. The burial mound was not just a grave. It was a statement, a monument, a reminder. Power does not die. It transforms. Despite multiple scientific efforts, DNA analysis failed. The bones were too degraded, their origins, their relation, lost. And yet their objects speak. Imported silks may have come from the Byzantine Empire. Their barrels were of Baltic origin, the cannabis from southern trade routes. These women had access to international networks of prestige and exchange. They were not isolated villagers, they were part of a global system, a web of politics, trade, and spirituality. And yet, they remain nameless. But maybe that's part of the magic. The discovery came at a pivotal time, 1904, just a year before Norway gained independence from Sweden. The ship became more than a tomb, it became a symbol of national identity, Norse heritage, and the endurance of Norwegian culture. In schoolbooks and museums, the Oseberg women were not forgotten. They became icons of mystery, power, and female sovereignty in an age dominated by male legend. They were proof that history was not only made by kings and killers, but also by women who commanded ships to sail beyond death. Today, the Oseberg ship rests in a museum, shielded from the elements but not from wonder. Visitors walk its length, children peer into its carvings, scholars debate its meaning. But beneath countless hills across Scandinavia, other mounds remain, other ships, other stories. Some are yet to be found, others already crumbled into soil and myth. And yet, in this one vessel, carved with care, buried with grandeur, we see the echoes of a culture where death was not an end, but a transformation, where power lived not just in men, but in women whose names need no inscription to command awe. The ship still speaks, and its voyage isn't over. It sails now across time.